All right, welcome to Frank Teaches DevOps. Okay, in this short video, I will be discussing, all right, describing how to deploy an EKS cluster. All right, deploy um, an EKS cluster, an EKS, uh, an EKS. Okay, sh- how should I name it? An EKS cluster, an EKS Kubernetes cluster in minutes using Terraform. Okay, maybe deploy EKS cluster in AWS. Okay, let me have a second heading. Deploy an EKS cluster to AWS using Terraform. Okay, all right. We are gonna do this right away using Terraform. Okay, so just let me keep this apart. Deploy an EKS Kubernetes cluster in minutes using Terraform. Okay, before then, this is the architecture. This is just a basic architecture of a Kubernetes cluster, right? So we have the Kubernetes master, we have the worker, and we have the workers. Okay, so I wouldn't want to go into much detail about the explanation because I have a video already that I made on Kubernetes, getting started with Kubernetes, AWS EKS setup on AWS. Um, Kubernetes cluster, managed cluster using setup. Okay, Kubernetes managed cluster setup on AWS. So if you've not watched this my video, kindly search for this my video on my channel. However, I will be also sharing this part of the video, this this part that describes the creation of what's it called, your EKS cluster on AWS console. So you may have to watch this video to understand how I'm going to use Terraform to create, to replicate all I did in on the console. Okay, so here it is. Here it is. I'm not going to go into much detail. Yeah, so these are things I'll be doing. I'll be creating the cluster. I'll also be creating the worker. And while I'm creating the cluster and the worker, there are things that I have to put into consideration. I have to create a cluster role, a cluster role attachment, and subnet IDs. And I'll do the same thing on the worker part, a worker role attachment, and subnet IDs. All right, I am set. I'm ready. So I'll bring up my control machine. So this is my node, an empty machine. Okay, just empty machine. Okay, all right. So this is my machine as fresh as fresh. Okay, so I will be starting off. Okay, so now, like I said, I'm going to start with the cluster part, which is the Kubernetes cluster. So this is what I will do. I'll just go to Google. I'll go to Google, my normal process. I'll say Terraform, um, AWS, EKS cluster. That's it. Okay. Then I will go and pick um, the definition, the cluster definition. Okay. So here is the basic usage, the basic usage, and they have sections. All right. It has sections up till this is the basic usage. After the basic usage, you have the IAM role. You have to create you have to create IAM role for the cluster, and this is login. I don't want to do login. Control plane login. I don't want to do it. And IAM role for service accounts, and yeah. So that's it. So let's get started quickly. quickly. So I'll just copy all of this, copy this, copy, then come over here. Let me make a directory, call it K8, and go into the directory K8 and create a file called cluster.tf. All right, so I'm inside. I will paste. Okay, so let me make it look nice. Um, let me make it look very nice. All right, so this is EKS cluster definition. All right, EKS cluster definition. Make it look pretty. So these are the things I need to change. The resource, the logical name. I don't want to use example. Let me just say, what can I use? What should I use? Let me just call it um, EKS demo. All right, EKS demo, and the name. I just want to give it a fanciful name. Let me just say EKS. Let me give it a fanciful name. However, I'm going to create a variable for this. So let me just use my variable at once, which I will have to create var dot eks underscore cluster. So that should have my cluster name. All right. So the role will take the form of let me say EKS demo rule. That's what I want. EKS demo rule. Okay. Then for the subnet IDs, I'm going to replace these IDs with my subnet I have on AWS. So where's my subnet? I'm going to replace that. So, however, you can also create your complete VPC stack from scratch and assign those subnet names to that section. Okay, so I have two subnets. I'll copy this subnet ID, copy this, bring it here, and then where are you? Okay, copy it, copy it, and paste. That's it. Okay, so I'll do the same thing. I have two subnets. They're in two different availability zones. So I'm going to paste that as well. So delete, delete. Mind you, this is list of strings, so you may have to put it in double quotes. These are list of strings. You may have to put it in double quotes. List of strings. Yeah, so my subnet is sorted out. I don't need this part. I don't need this part. Okay, so this cluster depends on this I am row policy attachment. So I'm going to give it policy attachments. I'll call it EKS demo. EKS demo. I'll call it EKS demo. EKS demo row. All right, policy attachments. Let me call it EKS demo row. Anything changes, EKS demo row. All right, so this is the role that you need to create and attach to the Kubernetes cluster. So the role name is called Amazon EKS cluster policy. All right, So this is the policy that you need to attach to the role. The policy that you need to attach to the role. Okay. So yeah, is another policy for VPCs. All right. Okay. So let's come down. EKS cluster. You are calling your cluster name here. So this is endpoint. This should display the cluster name. EKS demo. Okay. Demo.endpoint. I'm calling my cluster name over here. All right, so output, I'm also outputting what's it called? The certificate. Okay, but I may have to move all of these out from here. EKS demo. I may have to create a separate, what's it called? A separate file, output file. Probably this might not even be needed. I don't need to see this output. So there's no need. I don't need this part. It's for me, it's optional. For me, it's optional. To you, it could be what you want. So that's the first part. So let's go back to, so that was this first part. The next part is the I am role for the EKS cluster. So you have to create an I am role and the policy you'll be using. Copy all of that. So that's it. Copy, come back, and okay. So let's paste. It's not copy. So let's copy it again. So this is called I am role copy. I am role for EKS cluster. So go in there. Let's do the design. So I've pasted. Let's go up. Stick it up. I am role for EKS cluster. Okay, so I love doing these designs. So though this is just to make your work look neat work, and make your scripts much more readable, right? So now my I am role name will be um, EKS 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 role. Should I give it that? My I am role is EKS role. I'm calling my cluster here as well. My cluster name is sorry. This is the name of the role. This is the role name. So the role name well, let me undo that. Okay, let's see. Okay, EKS underscore cluster. So the role name will be EKS cluster role. Okay, EKS cluster role. Then this is an assume policy. I'm making use of an assume policy. All right, assume policy. So that is it. So if you're making use of an assume policy, okay, great. The next part is I am role policy attachment. I am role policy attachment. Okay. So if you look up here, we did something on our cluster. We said EKS demo role. Okay. So for the I am role policy attachment, the name will have to be the logical name will have to be EKS demo role. EKS demo role. Okay. EKS demo role. EKS demo role. All right. So yes, that's the first policy. Then for the second policy, I don't know this part. I don't need that part. Okay. So do the same thing. EKS demo role. EKS demo role. That's it. Then the role name. The role name. I'm calling the role name. So mind you, our role name will have to be the resource name dot the logical name. So yeah, my resource name is this. Logical name is EKS role. All right. So let's go down. Take it down. Where is it? Okay, sorry. Is there? Is yes. So EKS role. EKS role. All right. So do the same thing here. EKS role. Okay, so that's that part. That's the EKS role, um, the I am role for EKS. So the next part we need to look at is we're not going to touch login. Login is not part of it. Next one is the service account. All right. So for the service account, I don't need this part. This part we've already created. So I'll start up from here, which is the TLS certificate. I'll copy way down, way down, copy. So come over here. So let's call that, what name is this? Enabling IAM roles for service accounts. So come down, IAM role for service accounts. Okay, okay. All right, so paste it. It's not pasted. So copy from here, copy and paste. Okay, so let's make those changes as well, starting from data. Okay, so let me call it EKS EKS TLS. All right, so I'm going to leave. So my cluster name, I'm calling my cluster. My cluster will be what should be, what's it called? EKS demo. That should be my cluster name. EKS demo. Let me check. Okay, EKS demo. EKS demo. Okay, so we're here. EKS demo identity. Right, Open ID Connect OIDC. That's fine. Then this other part, which is the Open ID Connect provider. So I'll call it EKS OPIDC. Open IDC. Okay, EKS OPIDC. Then yeah, keep your client ID list as it is. Keep the thumbprints. So all you need to change is to call your TLS. So your TLS will be EKS TLS. That's it. Dot certificate, because I'm calling everything here. Calling everything here in this section. That's what I'm doing. Okay, so the URL will definitely change. So my example changes to EKS demo. All right, so that's fine. So next part is the data IAM policy document. Okay, so let me call this E EKS doc. EKS doc as in role policy. Okay, so actions remain the same, effects allow remains the same. Variable, something need to change here. So it's here the provider, which is the open IDC. So provider dot EKS EKS OPIDC, right? Then yeah, the values remains as it is. Then the principal also changes. So here is going to change to EKS OPIDC. Perfect. The type is federated. Now, I am role. It's like we've created this I am role before. Let me go up. I am role. AWS I am role. AWS I am role. I've done this before. Yes, this is it. AWS I am role. So there will be no need for that part. So I need to just clear it off, clear it off. So that is all I need to do for for the cluster part. Okay, for the cluster part, so that is all we need to do. All right. I'll be sharing this script on my GitHub repository. I'll also be sharing my GitHub link to this Terraform script. So this is my cluster. Mind you, we've not created a variable for cluster name. So var, okay, so cluster name. Let me copy all of these. Copy this. Let me go and create a variable. Vim variables.tf variables. So variable, and the variable name is EKS underscore cluster. The variable name is EKS underscore cluster. EKS underscore cluster. Okay, so that's the variable name. Then the type is gonna be definitely string. All right, definitely string. Then oh sorry. Then the value, I could call it EKS dash cluster. Okay, let me not put dash. EKS cluster demo. Okay, EKS cluster demo. That is the value. So call that default. Then here has to be the type. Okay, it has to be the type. All right, so that is the only variable we need to create, which is the cluster name. Okay, all right, so now I may also need to, I'm through with my cluster and variables. I need to create a worker.tf file that I will define my worker nodes in. So I'll do the same thing I did for the what's it called, the cluster is the same thing I'm going to do for the worker node. So I would say um, Terraform AWS EKS worker. All right. So worker node group. Let's see. Let's see what it does. Okay, so this is it. So I'm going to create a worker node group, a resource, and yeah, so let's pick it up from there. So the same thing, I'll copy all of these, copy, and come to vim worker.tf. All right, so paste. Let's do the same thing. So this was creating the worker. Creating the worker node. keep it neat. Okay, so now the EKS worker node group, I can call it EKS node. So now I need to call my cluster names. My cluster name would be this, interpolate it, var dot EKS underscore cluster is going to pick that name from there. Okay, so the group name would have to be EKS Node Group. All right, EKS Node Group. Then my I am role. Okay, I have an I am role here as well. So you have to create another I am role for your worker. So EKS Node role. That's what I should call it. EKS Node role. All right, so we have a section for subnet ID, so I don't need all of these. All I need to do, I'll go and copy what I have on in my, what's it called, in my cluster. Subnet paths is this, it's copy this path, copy it, back to your worker. All right, and paste it. So that's it. All right, so I'm using my subnet ID directly um, from my AWS console. So this other part is a scaling configuration. So in the scaling configuration, I need a a desired state of two worker nodes. Maximum should be two, minimum should also be two. Then maximum unavailable should be two as well. So done this part, in creating the worker notes, you need about three policies. All right, so you need three policies. So these three policies depends on your node group, depends on these three policies. All right, so you use the concept of depends on. Okay, so I'm going to say give it a name, EKS node. EKS node. The first policy is worker node policy, and the second policy is for CNI, which is for networking, EKS node. The third one is for container registry, EKS node. Okay, so I think we are all through with that part. So the next part we'll go back to our scripts and okay, so create the I am role for the EKS node. So I'm going to copy all of this I am role for EKS node group. So that is it. Copy, bring it here. So let's do usual design. I am role for EKS node group. I am role for EKS node group. Okay. All right. Okay. So I am role. I've used this I am role somewhere here. Let me check. Okay, none. So all right. So let's create it. So let's create I am role. So this will be EKS node row. I thought I've used it somewhere. EKS node row. So the name of the I am role will be EKS node row. Keep it simple. EKS node row. Okay, assume policy. I'm using this. That's great. All right. So the resource, which is the attachment. So this has to be EKS Node role. Okay, EKS Node role. I'll use this some up here. This is EKS Node. Okay, assume policy. So we've used EKS Node. Let me see. Okay, okay. This is where I use the role. So the role we are still in place. You're not out of place. EKS Node role. So we are still in place. EKS Node role. So the name is EKS Node role. Okay. So attaching this policy will have to be this is worker node policy. So it has to be the same thing. EKS node. EKS node. It has to be the same thing we used here. EKS node. Okay. Bring it down. Okay. So that is fine. Policy and is fine. Then the role name will have to be, what's our role name? AWS I am role, EKS node role, EKS node role, EKS node role. Come down. This would be EKS node, EKS node, EKS node, and here has to be EKS node role. EKS node role. Okay, great. EKS node, EKS node role, EKS node role. Okay, and last but not the least, which is subnet. No, we don't need subnet. We've already defined that part. I think we are almost through. We are almost through. Okay, we are almost through. So escape. Um, let's go back to the top and see creating a worker role. Blah 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 blah. All right, so let me save and quit. So this is all we need. This is all we need. The cluster.tf, variables.tf, and worker.tf. Now I need my provider. I need my provider.tf. Okay, so yeah. So let me use my CMD. I don't need to start typing everything all over. I just need to copy WSL. You don't need to take this part. This part is just for my provider. Okay, I need to look for a file. Sudo that. Okay, is it here? No. Okay, change terraform. Okay, let me cut what I have under my provider. Oh, it's not there. Okay, just copy it. Copy, close this, then create a file called provider.tf and then paste it. Okay, so don't worry, I will also need to clean it up. My region is EU West 2. Okay, then my access key is something like this. Don't worry, that's my access key. Then my secret key, something like that. Oh, sorry. Okay, so that's all. So escape, save, and quit. So the next thing I need to do is just to run Terraform initialization. Let's see if everything goes fine. I'm through. Yes, it was successful. So let's check validate. Let me check if all I did was okay. Syntax errors and yeah. So it's saying reference undeclared resource. EKS demo role. Yeah, in which file? In cluster.tf, EKS demo role. So I will say VM, I'll go directly to that line number in that file. So this should take me to that line. EKS demo role. Um, undeclared EKS demo role. I am I am role. Let's look for my I am role. My I am role is EKS demo role. So this is where it's coming from. EKS role. All right, let me change it. Demo role. Let me just use demo role. Um, EKS demo role. All right. So let's validate again. Let's validate. Okay. So still line 45 and line 50, EKS demo role. All right. Okay, line 45. So Vim plus 45 of cluster. Um, okay. EKS demo role and line 50 EKS demo row. So let's set NU line 50. Where are you? EKS demo row. So here is it, demo row. So there are high chances that you could make mistake because of the way the whole thing is. So let's validate one more time and see. Perfect. So now it's now success. Configuration is valid. So now we can now terraform. Let's see terraform plan. Let's see terraform plan and see what and what we will be deploying to our cluster. So these are the things. um okay, these are all of them. Blah 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 blah. So terraform apply and auto what, auto approve. Okay, so this is going to take a lot of time. So 10 resources are going to be deployed. Okay, 10 resources is now creating the node group. I am policy all got created, all got created. So it's going to take a lot of time. So what I will do, I'm going to pause this video and I will right back. All right, all right. So you can see that um, our 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 resource has been deployed successfully. So let's hop onto AWS and check. So can you see EKS cluster demo? So this name corresponds with what we have on in here, which is EKS cluster. Where is it? EKS cluster, and the name, okay, is a variable. So let's check our variable.tf file. You can see we have it, EKS cluster demo. All right, so if I open to this EKS cluster demo, I'm going to see my EKS node group. The status is active. All right, so these are the two, the maximum, the desired number of nodes, EC2 instances I specified. So the node is healthy. These are the nodes. Okay, so now the next thing we need to do now is we need to install Qctl on this machine so that we manage manage the cluster remotely. Okay, so let's go on to terminal. Sorry, Google, and how to install Qctl on Amazon Linux. All right, so pick the first link. So mind you, my Kubernetes API version is 1.22. So likewise, my Qctl has to be in the same version. So we have different versions of Qctl. So it has to match. All right. So copy that, come here, Let me switch to an ordinary user, download the Qctl file. So once that is downloaded, the next command I need to run, which is step 2, this is optional. I'll go to step 3. Step 3, copy. I need to make the script executable. Is now executable. So the next command is step 4. Step 4, that's it. Then the last but not the least, step 5, though they are optional, but I just prefer. So now next thing I need to do, I need to run Qctl version dash dash short dash dash client. So Qctl is now installed. So far, if I try to do Qctl get nodes, I should get an error. Okay, getting an error because I'm not logging to that instance. Let's check. I'll use AWS STS get caller ID, caller identity. So my caller identity is empty. So what I will need to do now, I'll use my AWS configure to set up my caller, my environment. So enter. So it's going to ask for my access key. So yes, here comes my access key. Copy and paste it. Next thing is my secret key. Copy and paste it. Next thing is my region EU West 2. That's it. That's it. So if I do my caller STS again, I should get my credentials coming. All right. So last but not the least, let's check Qctl get notes again and see if everything. So far, still, because we don't have the kubectl file on our local machine. So what I will do now is I'll still go back to Google and I will search for um, AWS EKS update kubectl file. So here's a command to update your kubectl to download your kubectl file locally. All right. So here's a command. Let's go down. So this is the command. So I'll copy all of that, copy it, bring it here, then paste. Sorry, refuse. What is this? Copy and paste it. So sorry, that's an error because it's a wrong cluster name. So what's the cluster name? Our cluster name is EKS Cluster Demo. I thought as much. EKS Cluster Demo. So that's the cluster name. So EKS Cluster Demo. So if I hit enter, we should see an output. Added new context, blah 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 blah. So at this point, uh, we've been able to successfully download the Keepctl file from AWS console to our base machine. So if I check, I should be able to see the Keepctl file locally. So you can see I have this file locally. All right. So at this point now, I can now comfortably run Qctl get nodes, and I should be able to get the running nodes. Qctl get ports. All right. uh Namespace all, let me use all. Sorry. In namespace, it's supposed to come by default without me specifying. No resources found in cube system namespace. Cube system. Okay, all right. So these are the ports that are already running on that namespace cube system. So far so good. We've seen how we've been able to deploy our Kubernetes cluster to AWS using Terraform. I hope you've enjoyed this session, and then I'm going to leave the what's it called? I'm going to leave the GitHub repository to these Terraform scripts in the video. All right, in my YouTube video to this YouTube channel to this video. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you and see you guys in my next video. All right. So thank you, and have a nice day.